Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room, say a few words, and everyone around them listens breathlessly, while others, no matter how hard they try, remain in the shadows, are interrupted, or simply ignored? It's not about volume or knowledge. It's about how you speak. In this video, I'll show you how to learn how to speak so that you are respected and listened to. Some of the tips will seem simple, others complex, but they will definitely change the way you communicate. First, stop apologizing for no reason. Let's talk about the word that's ruining your life: sorry. Stop apologizing for every little thing. It's not cool, it's not polite, and it certainly doesn't help you gain respect. When you tell the world, "Hey, don't take me seriously," you're the one letting people know it's okay to get over you. Imagine walking into a room and saying, "Sorry, I'm late," even though you're only 2 minutes late due to terrible traffic. You immediately make yourself look like a problem. In reality, it was just the circumstances. You know what I said? "Oh, sorry. Go ahead." Is that why I'm apologizing? Ever since I started tracking, when I was going to say, "I'm sorry," I started stopping myself and asking the question, do I really need to apologize, or am I just trying to smooth things over? 90% of the time, there was no need to apologize. Apologizing when it's inappropriate isn't just a habit, it's a mindset. Like you don't have a right to exist just because you take up space because you're human. If you keep that up, you know what's going to happen? People will start to believe that they will see you as someone who is always wrong, someone who doesn't value themselves enough to stand on their own. But the truth is, you have every right to take your place, to have your opinion, to make mistakes. Respect doesn't come from saying, "I'm sorry." It comes from accepting your presence and your flaws. Let's rewrite the script. Instead of "Sorry, I'm late," say, "Thank you for waiting." Instead of "Sorry to bother you," say, "Do you have a minute?" Instead of "Excuse me, may I add something?" say, "I'd like to add something." Boom. Now you're confident and polite without apologizing for your existence. Next time you're about to say, "Excuse me," pause. Ask yourself, do I really need to apologize? Or am I just trying to make myself smaller? Respect starts with how you respect yourself. Get rid of that. From unnecessary apologizing, you'd be surprised how people will start to perceive and listen to you differently. The second thing is set boundaries and stick to them. Let's cut the crap. If you don't set boundaries, you're not being selfless. You're showing weakness. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want just to keep the peace? How often have you let someone step over you because you didn't want to seem like a difficult person? Let's talk about why boundaries aren't just a nice thing to have. The need for respect is all about boundaries. It's not about pushing someone away. It's about teaching people to interact with you in a respectful way. Look at boundaries as the rules of your personal game. No boundaries, no rules. And if there are no rules, people will do what they want. When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially saying that your comfort is more important than my peace of mind. That's why you're answering texts at 2 a.m. or working late because someone forgot to finish their work. You will start setting boundaries, and people will get angry. Why? Because they're used to you always adjusting to them. Believe me, I've been there. I once told a close friend that I couldn't help with a move because I had other plans. He started pushing the guilt trip. Wow, I thought I could count on you. And for a moment, I almost gave up. But then I realized that it wasn't about me being a bad friend. It was about him not respecting my time. So I stuck to my guns. And guess what? He found someone else to help him. Still friends, people adapt, only if you hold your line. I'll never forget when I realized that my lack of boundaries was robbing me of my peace of mind. I had a coworker who was constantly dumping last-minute tasks on me. At first I said, "Sure, no problem," because I wanted to seem helpful. But then I noticed a pattern. Every time I bailed him out, he did it again. One evening, as I was staying late at work to correct his mistakes, I thought, why am I putting his lack of organization ahead of my own life? The next time he did it, I said, "I can't help you now. You'll have to figure it out on your own." He got frustrated, yes, but he handled it, and I finally got to go home on time. Boundaries aren't about being angry. They're about showing people and yourself that your time, energy, and well-being are important. If you don't value your boundaries, no one else will. But there's a flip side to this. Boundaries are not only necessary for those who respect you, but also for those who don't. Setting boundaries helps you weed out those who aren't worth your time. Don't make excuses for your boundaries. If you give in, you will teach people that your boundaries can be ignored. Practice saying no to small things. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Start with something minor, like saying no to an invitation you're not interested in. When you realize that it won't make the world fall apart, saying no will become easier. Setting boundaries isn't easy. It's discomforting, and it will cause resentment in some people. But the alternative is living a life where everyone else's needs are always more important than yours. And that, in my experience, is a fast track to burnout. Start small. Define what you need and express it clearly. And most importantly, stick to it. Because the only people who get frustrated by your boundaries are the ones who benefit from not having them. Set boundaries. Trust me, it's worth it. Third, master the art of the pause. Tension. When I paused, that's what the power of silence is, my friend. It makes people pay attention. Here's the rub. Most people are so uncomfortable in silence that they'll do anything to fill it. They talk too much, rush to judgment, and end up sounding like they're trying to sell you something instead of just speaking their truth. But here's the controversial thing. The pause isn't a void. It's where your power lives. We live in a culture where speed is everything. Fast talkers are considered confident and savvy, but guess what? Fast doesn't always mean effective. When you speak quickly, the pauses in your words can sound like background noise, something people hear but don't listen to. A pause, on the other hand, makes people listen, creates anticipation. It's like music. Imagine a song with no pauses, just an endless rhythm. It's exhausting, right? A pause in music creates a rhythm, and a pause in speech does the same thing. It's not about saying less. It's about making every word matter. I haven't always been a fan of pauses myself. In fact, I've been terrible at it. Used to think I needed to emphasize my importance with a stream of endless words. In meetings, in conversations, even on dates, I was constantly filling a pause, thinking that silence would make me look insecure. And guess what? It didn't make me look smart or confident, just tedious. I once gave a presentation and got so engrossed in explaining every detail that I didn't notice people starting to sweat. You have great ideas, but you don't give people time to conceptualize them. It hurts, doesn't it? But that was my moment of epiphany. I realized that I was doing all the work for my audience instead of giving them time to comprehend what I was saying. When I started practicing pausing, seemed strange, very strange. But over time, I noticed something amazing. People started paying more attention to me. Instead of shutting down, they started leaning closer. They didn't just hear me, they listened. The moment that solidified this for me happened during another presentation. I intentionally slowed the pace and added pauses after key points. One person came up and said, "It was so powerful. Every word was important," that I realized it wasn't just about what I said, but how I said it. That's the underlying lesson. Pause. It's not just a speech technique, it's a state of presence. It's about being so sure of what you're saying that you don't have to fill every second with noise. The pause speaks for my words. It's a confidence that is rare, and that's why it commands respect. But it's not just about confidence. The pause teaches us patience. It makes us slow down. And let's be honest, in our fast-paced world, there's something incredibly powerful about someone who is willing to make time. It shows who you are. Now I know you may be thinking, if I pause, people will think I've lost the thread of the conversation, or I'm not confident. Let me flip that around. A pause doesn't make you insecure. It shows that you are considering your words. And if someone thinks it's indecisiveness, that's their problem, not yours. So the next time you feel the urge to fill a pause with chatter, hold back. Embrace the discomfort. Because when you master the pause, you will own your attention. And frankly, that's exactly the power you deserve. Fourth, use humor, but don't turn into a clown. Humor is like hot sauce. If used correctly, it makes everything better. You overdo the humor, you ruin the whole dish. You know what the quickest way to lose respect? When you cross the line between being a funny clown. Sounds harsh, but someone had to say it. Let's break down how to use humor to gain respect rather than lose it. First, the obvious. Humor is a cool tool. It relieves tension, helps you make connections, and can even make you look smarter. Yes, the research backs that up. But here's the controversial part. If you're not careful, humor can backfire on you. You rely too much on jokes to earn respect. I used to be the kind of person who always had a joke at the ready, even when the moment didn't call for it. I thought it was cute, but it really undermines it in a way that it's not. I'll never forget the time in a meeting when I made a joke about my job. Something like, "I'm just here to make the tables look pretty." Everyone laughed. But then my manager came up to me and said, "You're too good at what you do to undervalue yourself like that." That struck me. And I realized that while humor is important, you have to value yourself too. Warning, that was an opinion, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you need to turn into a serious robot. Humor is a great way to lighten the mood, but here's the thing. It has to serve a purpose. For example, self-irony can be cool in moderation. It shows your humility and makes you more approachable. But if you're constantly making fun of yourself, people may start to distrust you. There's a fine line between laughing at yourself and giving people permission to laugh at you. That's the deeper lesson of humor. It's a matter of timing, intention, and balance. When used thoughtfully, it's a sign of intelligence and confidence. There was a time in my life when I used humor to avoid difficult conversations. When I was given criticism, I would guffaw to avoid tension. If I felt uncomfortable in a serious conversation, I turned it into fun. And guess what? Something strange happened. People stopped taking me seriously. I realized that respect doesn't come from being the funniest in the room, but from knowing when to be serious and when to be lighthearted. The secret is to find the middle ground. Humor should add to the conversation, not distract from it. It should bring people closer together, not separate them. And most importantly, it should reflect your confidence, not insecurity. A well-chosen joke can show that you're witty, but a constant stream of jokes can give the impression that you're too stupid. Try to remember that humor can be risky. For example, sarcasm can make you either witty or rude, depending on how it is perceived. The same goes for black humor. Remember, read the setting. Nothing is more awkward than a joke that doesn't go over. Humor is a form of communication, and like any other form, it reflects who you are. You can use it to cheer others up or hide your feelings, and it all depends on how your humor is perceived. So next time you're going to make a joke, ask yourself, what is my purpose? Am I using humor to connect with people, or am I hiding behind it? You know, those juicy details about Katya in accounting, or that story your friend asked you not to tell anyone. We've all done it, right? But here's the harsh truth. Gossip doesn't make you interesting. It makes you unreliable. Don't get me wrong. I understand why gossip is attractive. It's like social currency. In the moment, it seems cool. It's like you become part of some exclusive club. But here's the flip side. Every time you participate in gossip, you're letting those around you know that you can't be trusted. It's not just about the person you're talking about. It's about you too. If people can't trust you, they can't respect you. Period. I learned this lesson through my own bitter experience. I once made an unfortunate joke about a coworker. Let's call him Dave. Dave was constantly late, and I jokingly threw in the phrase, "I guess his alarm clock has a grudge against him." It seemed like a harmless joke, but it went viral. People started adding their own, "Dave's lazy, he doesn't care about work," and so on. Now guess who was credited as the author of this rumor? That's right, me. The worst part was that Dave had a good reason for being late. He was taking care of his sick mother. At this point, it hit me like a ton of ice dropped on my head. My harmless gossip turned out to be not harmless at all. It was hurtful and, frankly, a little cruel. The thing about gossip is that it never just affects the person you're talking about. It affects you too. You're trying to make yourself feel better, trying to seem more interesting. To be frank, most gossip is born out of insecurity. It's like saying, "Don't look at my faults, look at the faults of others." But here's the harsh reality. When you gossip, you're affecting more than just the person you're talking about. They start to wonder about your integrity. Now, let's discuss the flip side. What happens when you don't gossip? When you're someone who refuses to get involved in drama, people notice it. They start to see you as someone they can trust. You don't need to belittle others to feel better about yourself. That's the kind of person who commands respect. Let me tell you, when I started actively avoiding gossip, things changed. Instead of engaging in conversations like, "Did you hear?" I started saying something neutral like, "I hope they're doing well." At first it seemed weird, like I was missing something. But over time, they started coming to me for advice instead of drama. They started to see me as someone who knew how to handle situations, not someone who would use their secrets as a weapon. Here's the deeper lesson. Gossip not only hurts others, it hurts you. They undermine your reputation, your relationships, and even your self-respect. When you stop gossiping, you make the statement, I don't need to humiliate someone to elevate myself. Where does real respect come from? Let's be honest. When you're known as someone who's always up to date on gossip, you also become someone who can't keep their mouth shut. You know what happens to people like that? They don't get promoted, they aren't trusted with secrets, and sadly, they get excluded from socializing. Yeah, maybe it's time to get off the gossip train. It's not going to lead to anything good. Ask yourself this question. What kind of person do you want to be? The one who spreads negativity and distrust, or the one who supports others? Gossip gives instant gratification, it's true. But respect is something that stays for a long time, and it doesn't come from spilling tea. Respect comes from being the person who refuses to spill it. You know when you need to stop? Here's the sharp truth. Most people talk too much. Yes, I said it. And guess what? It robs them of respect. An unpleasant reality. It happens. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Oh, how great the temptation is to keep talking, to keep explaining. Let's break down why we do it. We keep talking even when we've already made our point because, frankly, it's insecurity. We're afraid that if we shut up, people will think we're insecure or incompetent. So we keep cracking on, hoping to show how smart or funny or cool we are. It comes off as insecure and sometimes even desperate. Let me tell you how I realized this. I once presented an idea to a client. I thought I had done it perfectly, but instead of stopping and giving them time to conceptualize my idea, I kept talking, rephrasing my idea, adding unnecessary details, even trying to anticipate their questions. In the end, they didn't nod, but looked puzzled. The supervisor told me, "You got them hooked in the first 30 seconds, but then you lost them. You need to learn to stop." This struck me like a thunderclap. I realized that I was not giving people a chance to comprehend what I was saying, and I was drowning out my own message. I realized that instead of giving people a chance to make sense of what I was saying, I was suppressing my thoughts with a flood of unnecessary details. Here's the thing. The more you talk, the less they listen to you. It's like pouring water into an already full glass. It just pours out, and there's nothing left. Silence, on the other hand, attracts attention. It gives weight to your words. When you wait for a response, that's where respect is born. Look, I realize this is difficult. Silence can feel awkward. You're saying something, waiting for a response, and instead, there's a pause. Your brain is screaming, say something else. Fill that pause. But here's what you need to realize. That pause is your ally, not your enemy. It is in moments like these that a deeper truth is revealed. Knowing when to stop is not only about communication, but also about confidence. It means believing that your words have value without needing endless explanations or filling pauses. It's about being okay with the discomfort of silence. Know that speaking needs to be concise, not drawn out. Think about the most impressive speeches or moments in history. These were not long and tedious monologues. The essay consisted of clear, concise, and well-thought-out thoughts. Knowing when to stop is like leaving a party in the middle of it. You leave people wanting to hear more, not thinking it's time to leave. This applies to my personal life as well. At family reunions, I was always the one to fill the silence with jokes, explanations of my views, or just words for words' sake. One day, I decided to just stop. I said everything I wanted to say and let the conversation flow. You know what happened? People started talking more than me. They started asking for my opinion themselves instead of shutting down halfway through. It was like I went from being background noise to the focus of attention. And what did I do? I started talking less. That's the main conclusion. When you know when to stop, you show people that you trust your words. You give them the opportunity to really hear you, respect you, and engage with you. Yes, it takes practice. It takes courage to let silence do its work. But once you master it, the effect will be amazing. Are you worried about leaving people hanging? Don't worry, you're not going to fall. So next time you're having a conversation, try this. Say what you mean, and then stop. Wait a while. It's more important than any number of words. Respect isn't just about following a list of techniques or tricks. It's about how you show up for yourself and others every day. It's about owning your words, your space, and your influence. Thanks for watching.